My name's Les Weiler, and I'm with That's My Entertainment, and I'm talking to Paul
Yep.
Scanlan, who is is your title CEO or
Yeah, co-founder and CEO.
oh, of Legion M, which is absolutely the world's first fan-owned company in this regard. I I saw you guys just all over the place at Fantastic Fest, and you just couldn't get there were Legion M stuff everywhere, and and so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your participation with Draft House, but can you kind of catch me up to speed on when did the space become available for this idea for you?
Legion M is really the culmination of kind of a series of things that my co-founder Jeff Anderson and I have been working on throughout our careers. Going way back to we started a company called Moby TV, which was
Hmm.
one of the early pioneers of streaming television and movies, and had a kind of disruptive effect there. We ended up winning an Emmy from the Television Academy. And as the kind of Jobs Act was being approved through Congress and being written into law, we had previously launched the New York Rock Exchange. And again, I think we're just a little bit too early with that one. We're not ruling it out as a future kind of vertical that
Hmm.
Legion M ventures into, but as the Jobs Act was going from, it took them about 4 years to approve it in Congress and then write it into laws, with the SEC actually allowing what's now called equity crowdfunding. And
Hmm.
so Jeff and I were kind of brainstorming and looking at these new rules as kind of creating what we saw as a once in a lifetime opportunity to unite fans together, co-own a company to back, really super creative and original movies and TV shows, and create what we think could be, one of the most influential entertainment companies in the world. And so, yeah, that's what we did. Well, literally on the eve of these new rules being available, we had already announced the company and we opened up our round. We were one of the first companies to take advantage of the new laws.
Were there any particular tech challenges, not so much from a legal investing standpoint, but just making sure that fan participation was more than a mailing list? Uh,
Yeah, I mean, well, Jeff and I mean, we're both kind of technology is in our DNA. That's
hmm.
our background. We
Yeah, you
started
came from
Moby
Lucent.
TV as a
Yeah.
technology company. Yeah. And so I've got a background there. And so we wanted to kind of engineer the company from day one to do a couple different things, because we feel like uniting fans together to co-own the company is more than just a fund. It's more than just the money they're contributing and then investing that into projects. We see the community as the source of our superpower. So for us to really kind of wield that superpower, we need technologies to do it. We need the technology to scalably interface and interact with that community, but we also need the technologies to help us um, solicit and get the kind of feedback and insights that we think a fan-owned entertainment company should have, and that sets us apart from any other entertainment company. And so, what I mean by that, like, we have components of our platform, because we really see the company as first and foremost the community. It's this amazing and energized and enthusiastic community of shareholders that are all connected and interacting, but also the platform. And the platform is really how we bring everyone together, the kind of online communities that we
Hmm.
form, and where our discussions take place. But also we have things like Mpulse. Mpulse is where we'll put out different things that we want feedback from, and then our community gets to vote on it or help us prioritize our development slate or even contribute to an idea. We do online development meetings. We just finished at Sundance this year, where we rolled out our Scout platform. The Film Scout platform is is kind of taking Impulse to a whole next level where we allow everyone in the community to basically help us evaluate the 117 films at Sundance this year.
Hmm.
We go in with a hunting initiative to find a project that we basically want to buy and distribute. And we team up with different distributors. And this data that we have going into Sundance, we had over 40,000 votes on the platform, guiding us toward what are the projects at Sundance this year that have the most appeal to our community.
Hmm.
Then while we're there, there's a second component of Scout where, of course, we invite our community to join us at Sundance, and we have a lounge there, and people can come out and, have that amazing Sundance experience, but also do it together with the community and have a place to hang out and meet celebrities and,
Hmm.
do all those things that are really fun. But it's also good for business. So we have a saying at Legion M that having fun can be good business. And so this year at Sundance, we together with everyone else, we're, doing what we love to do, which is, watch movies, evaluate them. But coming out of it now, we have a movie, we haven't announced it yet, but we have a movie that we were guided towards with Scout that we're basically buying for distribution. And, and it's really rewarding in a way because it's not only guiding us and it's very data rich insights that put us, we believe, at an advantage over anyone else at Sundance trying to pick what movie they want to,
Yeah.
buy. Even big companies like A24 and Netflix that are, buying films there are doing it based on a fairly small number of subjective opinions and not any kind of, analysis, like extensive data or analysis.
Yeah.
But one of the fulfilling parts about it is that we know that we can go and buy one of these projects and distribute it because if we've got enough interest and votes through our community, we know that we've got a certain level of support when we distribute it. So it kind of changes the sort of economics for us, improves them in a
Yeah.
way where our downside risk is less because, we know a certain number of people are interested in it already. And we've already been able to demonstrate what our community impact is on a project. So we have a good gauge on like what that's worth in a distribution model. So it just kind of puts us at an advantage when kind of making these decisions and being able to negotiate for a project.
I hadn't really
So
considered
I
that.
apologize that I can't tell you what project it is, but we're hoping to announce it in the next like probably week or two. There's a few other things that we're doing related to it before we announce. But we're super excited about it because it's, Scout was like any startup company. We do a lot of experiments. And Scout was one of those experiments where we thought, this seems like a really great opportunity to enable the Legion and our community to have a voice in the process and to do something that, quite frankly, is fun and delivering on our promise to them. But it's also, it's like a virtuous cycle because it's arming us and the company that they co-own with really valuable data and now this important asset as part of our business model.
Yeah, I had not considered the benefit of having that many people, that many eyeballs that you trust, and what a kind of bottleneck of trust it would be for other companies. You've only got 3 or 4 people there who you feel confident can make a good decision about which film you ought to do, whereas you've got, the quite literally legion of investors that all have
Yeah,
skin in the game about picking a good movie, so they're not going to punk you on it, and
right.
but you can really cover a fest. And I also know when I've gone to fests, what an ambassador I become for the movies that I've seen there that then
Yeah.
often dribble out over a year or two, so that a year later I'm looking at friends going, "You just saw an ad for that? That's out now? Oh, you have to see that."
Wait,
And
Les?
that's
Sorry, you're
different.
cutting out a little bit.
Oh, I apologize.
Les?
Yeah,
Yeah,
can
no,
you hear me, Paul? Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah, sorry
I
about
mean,
that.
I know what an ambassador for films I become, and when my friends finally see an ad for something that I saw a year ago at a fest, it just comes bubbling out of me of oh no, you must see that, which I know works better than just marketing.
Yeah,
Just a poster
yeah,
telling my
no,
friends that they
that's
want to see it.
yeah, no, that's exactly right. I mean, there's data that shows that your network referrals from your network are much stronger endorsements of projects than any kind of anonymous marketing.
I also know, in my life at least, I've often been surprised how much people step up when I really include them in a project, rather
Yep.
than just telling them about my project. Have has there been any place where you've been really obviously you went into this with a pretty optimistic view of what a fandom could do, but have there been places where the Legion has really surprised you with how much more they want to do?
Yeah, no, I would say, as any entrepreneur, when you start something, you kind of hope that, people will feel the same way about it that you feel.
Hmm.
And I would say that the community's engagement and support has exceeded our expectations. I mean, we expected it to be strong and supportive, but what one of the things that we're really grateful for is how willing to help the community is, and how we have this kind of theory that, like, when you're marketing a project, there's two ways to do it. One is, you get the trailer out there and people view the trailer, and they're interested in seeing that project based on the trailer. But if you get that trailer out there and there's an opportunity for someone to not only go see the film, but maybe to make an investment and to become a part of the community that's putting that film out, what you end up doing is you're converting someone who's a potential, ticket buyer, right? They're going to go see your film, and that's great news. But now they're not only going to go see your film, they're going to become an advocate, because now it's their film too.
Yeah.
And when it's their film, it just, it's like you're inviting them to the same side of the table that you're on. And we're all in this pushing, this project together and trying to help a worthy project find the audience that it deserves to have. And I would say, like, Mandy was one of our, probably best experiences so far, in that, the film didn't, and it was interesting because when we released that film through RLJ,
Hmm.
the Legion M impact on that project started back even before it premiered at Sundance. So we were invested, early. So we're an
Hmm.
equity investor in that film. And when the film showed at Sundance, we hosted the premiere party, right? So we
Hmm.
had the party with Nick Cage, and everyone was there. Panos was there, and our community was there. And no one had seen the film. We had been talking about it, and we'd done some, communication about, what's happening with it. And when Johan came on to do the original score, and all these exciting elements kind of leading up to it. But the whole idea of, the Legion had maybe a few hundred people at Sundance. This was not this past Sundance, but the one before
Yeah.
that. And, for our community, of course, everyone's invited to come out to Sundance. And it's one thing to go experience Sundance, as a film buff, you
Yeah.
know what this is like. You show up and, you're trying to navigate and figure out how to get tickets and what to see and everything. And that's an amazing experience. And people put that on their bucket list to, go to Sundance at some point, or maybe go many times.
Yeah.
It's a completely different experience to go to Sundance as part of Legion M. Because when you go as part of Legion M, as a part of our community, you immediately have a community of people that are all connected. And when you walk down, Main Street, wearing a Legion M cap or a button or something, and you run into another Legion M person, it's not just some stranger that I mean, they are a stranger that you're meeting probably for the first time, but you're hugging them and you're talking, you have so much in common and so much to talk about. And then you go and you hang out at our lounge and you meet other people in the community. I mean, we have people that like share housing together now because they've met through the Legion. And, you know, it's become kind of an annual event. But it's more than that, because now they get to wear a Film Scout badge. They get to give their votes. They get to write reviews on movies they see, and which is like, it takes the Sundance experience to the next level. And you know, and of course there's no obligation. They can just go see films if they want. They don't even need to, you know, do any of the work. But most of them actually want to do that. Like, that's not a chore for them. That's actually fun.
No, it's a
an
perk.
Experience.
Yeah.
It's a perk, yeah. And for us, that perk isn't like something we're giving up on our side, and it's like, you know, something that we have to put up with. It's like something that we benefit from. So by doing these perks, they're benefiting the company that they own. So it's, like I said, it's this virtuous cycle. In the case of Mandy, the whole idea of having a Legion community at Sundance when that movie premiered, you know, it helped give that movie the sort of buzz that it deserved to have. You know, we have an expression that, like, Legion M, our community can't make a bad movie good, but we can help a good movie become a hit. And, you know, and so with Mandy, it started back then. And then, you know, when it got released for distribution through RLJ, you know, because of RLJ's release model, they don't put a lot of P&A budget into the film. So, and it was a day and date release. So a lot of those projects, you know, will do just fine financially, but they won't become kind of like a lot of them aren't like super, like high profile. Like, you don't hear about a lot of them. I mean, people like you and I would know about them, but, you know, the average person might never hear about it because there wasn't enough marketing. And there was, in RLJ's case, they just didn't spend any money on marketing. I mean, that's just not their model. They put out a day and date. They do a limited theatrical.
Yeah, they had the reduction in screens.
M was involved, but because Legion M was involved, it actually, Les, it was really interesting because to us, it was almost like a test case of the Legion M model in a vacuum with all other controls, because, you know, we couldn't, you know, if we were doing this and they had spent a bunch of money on marketing, it might be hard to discern, okay, where did it come from?
Yeah, which was your impact?
Budget or, yeah, exactly. In this case, you know, the film, first and foremost, I just want to be clear, deserves it. It deserves and, you know, so at least half the credit, you know, it just comes from, because it's a deserving film, it gets this kind of notoriety. But you and I both know that deserving films don't always get that kind of notoriety.
Yeah, everybody's got a secret film that they love that's perfectly deserving that no one's seen. Yeah,
that no one's even heard of. And so, I mean, we I think that, and I think even Panos and the producers, Spectravision, Elijah, and RLJ would all fully acknowledge that, you know, we had a great project on our hand and a real visionary film from Panos, but, you know, because we had the Legion involved and the Legion was able to wrap their arms around this project and put it out into the ecosystem in a stronger way than it would have without it, the project kind of took on a life of its own.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, it's priming that pump and getting that out there, getting the messages out there. You know, we ended up doing merchandise for that film. A lot of, you know, I would beg to say that most day and date films don't even ever have any merch associated with them. And the merch has been actually a big part of this project. And, you know, it was one of those things where early on, you know, we had been asking for it because our community, of course, wants to represent and, you know, have stuff that they can wear or, you know, promote to help promote the project. And, you know, again, merch has been, it's exceeded all of our expectations. We're still selling those tiger shirts. Have you seen the film?
No, no, I've not got to see it yet, and
Oh, okay.
I'm actually I missed it in theater, and I'm doing the thing that I think surprised a lot of people about Mandy, where if at all possible, I really want to see it on a big screen, and
Well, it's true.
and I feel, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
it's one of
yeah,
the
I'm
curses
just
actually. We sort of created that that messaging because it's true. I mean, you should see it in a theater, and it's been phenomenal for its. It extended its limited theatrical into like an actual theatrical.
hmm
Regal took it on and put it in 200 screens, and just for one night only. But theaters were making exceptions because a
yeah.
lot of them don't normally carry a day and date film, and it's still playing in theaters.
I'd say I'd read that RLJ
Weirdly,
had to reach back out, or that theaters rather had reached back out and said, "Hey, we've got contractual obligations, but can we have Mandy back at such and
yeah,
such date?" And you should see it in theaters, quote unquote, is not a marketing line that I don't think I would really believe that off of a trailer or a poster. You must see it in but if a friend of mine says, "No,
yeah,
man, you should see that in theaters," boom, I believe it. And
right,
so I
yeah,
think that's even a marketing lesson that, or message rather, that Legion can get across, where Legion M can get across, where no normal studio would really sell that line to me.
right, exactly. Yeah, no, totally agree.
One of the things that fascinated me that I don't think I would have considered setting up something like what you're doing is that you don't necessarily want to reveal everything. You still want the investor Legion to want to see the finished product and not necessarily feel like it's the last day of film, that they've already seen every single minute and
Right.
every stitch of this movie already. How do you decide, or how do you work with the creators to decide what to withhold and what to give to the Legion in terms of behind the scenes access?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, we just started production actually on one of our most recent investments with Kevin Smith, the
Yeah, the
James
Jay and
Silent
Silent,
Bob
yeah.
reboot, and yeah, it's tempting to want to like share the script and share some insights. We are doing kind of behind the scenes like updates on how
hmm
things are going. I think most of the community wants the same thing that you're alluding to. They don't want the experience of enjoying the movie to be spoiled for them. But so we do talk a lot about like one of the things that we want Legion M to represent is for those that are interested, that it can be educational, that it can
hmm
be like something that we really are kind of informing. Like when we make an investment, we don't describe all the details because those are confidential, and a lot of our communication, because it goes out to so many people, could be perceived by, from a legal perspective as almost making it public. But we do want people to understand, what type of an investment it is and what that means and how it all works. And, when we're going into production, how that works, and then what happens after production. And, but so we want to take people along the journey so that they can come along for the ride and have the sort of, the thrill of excitement when, things like when Johan signed on for Mandy, or when Mandy got into Sundance, and, some of those amazing experiences. Likewise, if things aren't going well, we're happy, we try to be very transparent. So if something
hmm
is, you know, taking longer, or if there's rain on the set or something and we've had to delay, those are, that's information that, we would be conveying. But typically we wouldn't like, and there are some examples where being a part of the community might mean that you would get invited to some early screenings
hmm
where we may be doing like reaction screenings, or like influencer screenings, or just to kind of build some kind of excitement for a project. We did a lot of those for Bad Samaritan with
hmm
Dean Devlin.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so it's a fine line, but I think, the good news is that like, I haven't heard anyone complain, that they don't feel like they're getting enough information about the project, or, And one nice thing about the model, whereas, we always talk about the differences between like what Legion M is doing and what like you could do on Kickstarter with just a like crowdfunding without
Yeah.
equity. And, for us, equity crowdfunding is obviously a lot harder to do, weirdly. And, there's SEC approvals and all the, audited financials and all those elements. But what's really nice about it is there's that sense of ownership,
Hmm.
right? And so they're not buying the film, right? So if you back a Kickstarter program, a lot of times, the expectation is that you're going to get the DVD or some access to the film or some perk or some other thing. In our case, you're buying shares in the company, so you co-own the company. It's like
Hmm.
owning shares in Apple. You don't get free iPhones by buying shares in Apple. And so I think people are happy to like pay to go see the film and bring their friends to go see the film because that's how the business model works. That if we're all co-owners, and we all, I mean, I pay to go see movies, right?
Yeah.
And to see our movies. And that's just how it should be.
Yeah. I'm curious, what have you had a favorite reaction from a creator so far where you kind of saw the light bulb go off for them in a meeting where they realized what might be possible doing something outside of the studio system like this?
Yeah, I mean, we've been really grateful for the reaction that we've had. One of my personal favorites, and sadly he's not with us anymore, was Stan Lee.
Mm.
He was so we were at San Diego Comic-Con. We were in his suite. We were meeting with him for the first time and kind of explaining our business model to him. And he literally said to me, I think this is such a good idea. I wish I had thought of it myself. And and from that day forward, he was nothing but just generously supportive of us and really, a prince. I would say, so Stan was amazing. Another one was Kevin Smith. He's been, we got to know him through Stan Lee because he came to do an interview with Stan Lee that we were recording for our virtual reality interview series. And we got to know Kevin, and his reaction was the same way. Oh man, wow, that's such a good idea.
Yeah.
I love it. And and now we're in business with him and working together. And recently, Kevin, we were meeting, and we still feel like a lot of times, especially with someone like Kevin Smith, we're like pitching them in a way, like we're
Hmm.
explaining, here's the value of it, and this is what we're doing, and this is how it works, and this is why it's so smart, and this is why it's been really fun for our community, but it's also a good business model, and it can be great for your project. And he kind of like, he let us go through that whole dog and pony show, and then he said, I probably should have told you this up front. He's like, I love it. I'm totally in. I think it's an amazing idea. I could have saved you some time, but you were doing such a good job
Yeah.
presenting. I didn't want to
Didn't want
interrupt.
to stop you selling me.
Yeah,
That's great.
exactly.
Have
Yeah.
you had a have you had a really surprising reaction from any fans that you've seen? Something that kind of humbled you, where
Well, I'll
you know?
say, literally the most rewarding aspect of doing this is the reaction we get from the fans. And, we get like sometimes, these love letters that talk about, the experience that they had and how important it was for them to be there with Stan Lee when we got his hand and foot imprint at the Chinese theater, and how we were able to make that not a studio event, but a fan event, and invite fans to be there and to meet Stan and, to be with him on that, really important celebratory day.
Hmm.
Um, I think when we had one sad experience that was also really rewarding, which was a woman had written to us to describe how grateful she was that her dad was able to have that experience and meet Stan, who he had always wanted to meet his whole life. And it was weeks before her father passed away, but she took the time. I have to consider this. Her father had passed away, and she took the time to write us to thank us for creating that experience for her and her dad
That's
to
beautiful.
have had. Yeah, it was like, I mean, we have all these. We keep them in a safe place, and when we're ever needing the motivation, we go back and
Yeah.
read them. But there's a lot of them. To be honest, it's like I said, it's the most rewarding part of doing this is that it's creating these lifetime memories and experiences for people and pulling people together.
I'm
It's creating a community.
just going to go out on a limb and assume that you probably not had that experience at most of your previous work, uh, career jobs.
I wouldn't say it was, it was different. Yeah. I mean, we had great, like, one of the things that Jeff and I really pride ourselves on is having a great culture where
Hmm.
we work and
Yeah.
with our community where we work. And, with Legion M, our culture extends beyond just the staff and the employees. It's our whole company. It's the
Yeah.
community. And, because the community is, they're not like obviously on our payroll, but they are a core part of our company. Like it
Yeah.
is, that's our culture, and we work hard to nurture it and to, get it where it is. And, we're going to continue to work hard to make it the positive kind of uplifting culture that it is.
Well, thank you so much for telling me about it today. It is a really
No,
exciting
it's my
company,
pleasure.
and I can't wait to see what other projects you guys, whether it's coming into something like Colossal, where it's later in the lifeline or lifespan of the
Yep.
project, or something like Mandy, where I know that is only available to me because Legion was part of it. Um, but just absolutely fantastic stuff. I think often fans in the last few years are used to seeing streaming technologies and things like that come about, but the industry often be slow to recognize them, slow to look at those ratings, slow to care about that new tech or appreciate
Yep.
it. And it's wonderful to see a company built around it, forward looking kind of from the ground up. Uh,
Yeah.
really
No,
impressive.
we appreciate it. I mean, we're like one of the things that I think really unites Legion M and kind of galvanizes us together is that, we have a purpose, that our mission is to, unite fans into this community so that we can jointly have a positive impact on the industry that we love. And what I mean by that is, individually, we're all fans, right?
Yeah,
And by ourselves, just one at a time, we can vote with our pocketbook and we can do this and that. But let's be honest, we don't have that much impact. But when we band together, united around a single purpose, then we have the power to like really, have a massive impact on the industry.
yeah.
One of the things that our logo is an M with a bar over it, which is the
Hmm.
Roman numeral for 1 million. Which is so our long-term kind of vision is to unite 1 million fans together. And we're just getting started in doing that. But if or when we're successful and having done that, we'll have raised $500 million. So right now, the average investor puts about $500 into Legion M. So think about that. We would have raised $500 million to invest in projects that have 1 million people emotionally and financially invested in
Yeah,
that project success. That means we have kind of our built-in audience, the same way Marvel and Star Wars has their built-in audience. But the
yeah,
difference with ours is we're not limited. So instead of doing another Star Wars, reboot or a sequel, we can create the next Star Wars franchise. And we can do that not just once, we can do it over and over. and we can back original ideas like Mandy, and projects that we have coming up on our slate like Girl with No Name.
Hmm.
These are, this is the sort of the capability that we're developing, and we tell everyone that's coming on board, you know, this is going to be a process. It's not going to happen overnight. But as we continue to grow and as we continue to demonstrate our impact, our ability to impact the industry is going to get greater every day.
That's just great. I can't wait to see what you guys do next. I hope it is just disruptive as can be, and that we watch Legion M just become a household name as far as this goes. Uh, because yeah,
Awesome.
I
Thank you.
agree. It frees y'all up to not have a base that's loyal to a specific IP, but a base that's loyal to the concept of development, so that I don't just see remakes. I can see things that
Yeah.
take risks.
Hey, I'm Paul Scanlan with Legion M, and that's my entertainment. What's yours?
Thank you. I cannot think of a more appropriate guest to have ever said that tagline.
Exactly. Well, Les, thank you for your support too. Yeah, we appreciate you having us on.